from the place where the hurt comes. I said, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. I said, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. I said, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. I said, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. The part of you that is not alright, yeah, is also the part that loves the light. Comes from the place where the part of you that is suffering is the part that calls in change, and you don't have to feel ashamed. There is nothing to forgive. The part of you that is crying out is the part that wants to live. Yeah, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. I said, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. I said, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. I said, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. When your world is burning down, well, getting hot is a sane reaction, but one in need of action, because your spirit needs protection. So gather up your sinew and gather up your faction.
Hello, Emmanuel.
Hope is not a feeling, hope is an action. I said, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. I said, hope comes from the place where the hurt comes. I said, hope comes. We are not all right. I said, hope comes. We are not all right. Where the hurt comes. I'm gonna fall down on my knees.
That's not living.
I'm gonna say, will you help me, please?
That's not living.
I'm gonna say I'm not all right.
That's not living.
I'm just trying to make it through this night. Yeah.
That's not living.
I'm gonna fall down on my knees. Yeah. Oh, will we say, help me please? Help me please. We can say, hey, we are not all right. We are not all right. We can help each other get through the night. Because hope comes from the center of the hurt, in the middle of the dirt. We'll plant a seed and watch it grow into something we don't already know.
Hey everybody, welcome. Glad to be with you today. Can everyone give me a thumbs up if you can hear me all right? Awesome, thank you. My name is Rose. Welcome to the 2025 annual meeting for OFMA. I'm gonna switch my screens around here real quick. I like having you all over here. One second. There we go, that's better. Cool. Okay, my name is Rose, welcome, and I'm the president of OFMA, and I live in Gresham. Outside of OFMA, I work on the corporate relations team at Oregon Food Bank in the philanthropy department. And I've been a part of 6 Portland area farmers markets as a market manager, a co-manager, volunteer, kids club coordinator. And I used the Double Up Food Bucks program as well when I was experiencing poverty. And that made a huge difference in my life for my son and I. I also worked with an amazing group of folks on a coalition project in the St. John's neighborhood and the North Portland Doers Gathering, which is a group of folks who got together to talk about food justice, affordable housing, and houseless services. And the song you just heard is called Hope Comes by the Bensons. And it's been an important song in my personal social justice empowerment playlist. The phrase that stands out for me is gathering up your sinews, gathering up your factions. Hope is not a feeling, hope is an action. And as a community membership organization, I feel connected to the gathering up of people to take action in alignment with hope. And a great example of this is how over 200 people submitted testimony in support of House Bill 2979. All of us are so capable of cultivating and activating our community in support of farmers markets. Thank you to everyone who participated. Another important phrase for me is we can help each other. Just passionately shout it out to everybody. We hope to cultivate this with you. I personally feel a mutual aid energy that builds reciprocity, collaboration, and resilience is needed to meet this moment together as a community. Thank you to all of our members. Thank you for all you do for farmers markets, vendors, community, local economies, and our food systems. We are grateful for your support, your guidance, your counsel, and your partnership. Thanks for being here with us today. Cheers to everybody. All right, let's go into slide 2, please. So some housekeeping stuff. Today's meeting is going to be recorded and available on YouTube for public viewing, which I think is a pretty awesome resource, especially as a board member. I can't attend all of our trainings, and so it's really great to be able to go to YouTube and see what everyone's working on together. We hope to cultivate community, collective action, transparency, openness, and optimism today. We love seeing your faces, so feel free to come keep your camera on to cultivate a sense of community with us. Feel free to come on or off camera as it feels good to you. We also invite you to use emojis. They are a great way to help us feel connected to you, and it helps us know that you're engaged and connected to all of us. We invite you to participate in your own authentic style, and feel free to use the chat. We will have dedicated time for questions as well. If you need a bio break during the question and answer portion, would be a great time for that. And if we don't get to your question, please do make sure to put it in the chat. We will be keeping track of those and follow up with you. Please also observe all the typical Zoom meeting norms, like muting when you're not speaking, avoid talking over each other, and be respectful with your communications to one another. All right, let's go to slide 3, please. All right, as you know, our mission is simple: to support local agriculture and healthy communities by strengthening and promoting Oregon's farmers markets. Farmers markets in Oregon support 7,300 businesses and cultivate $61 million into local economies, generated by 4.1 million shopping visits. We want to make sure that markets remain vibrant economic incubators and community hubs. All right, next slide, please. Yes, this is our vision: a vibrant statewide network of farmers markets that connect Oregon's farmers to consumers. Next slide, please. And these are the guiding principles in which we use to make that happen. So the first one, to promote access to fresh local foods for all people, no matter where you come from, if it's rural, if it's urban, if it's from another country, if you're born here, no matter your economic status, we want local food for everyone. Demonstrate our commitment to economic, social, and environmental justice. To be supportive, comparing, and compassionate to all people. To be transparent and hold ourselves accountable, particularly to our equity principles and practices and anti-racist framework. Support communities of place and practice. Excuse me, this one's really about the peer learning spaces and bringing together markets for shared wisdom. And then be innovative. This is going to be really important as we move forward. I'm sure you all are already engaging with innovative activities and thoughts and contemplation. We're going to be needing this moving forward. And model uplifting, collaborative network building. Definitely want to build optimism and hope with each other. So this one feels like an important guiding principle for me. Let's go to the next slide, please. All right, today's agenda. We got our welcome, we got talking about the organizational governance, board elections, climate resilient grants, staff highlights, and then the question and answers, and also the drawing. We have a drawing for you during that time. And then we got our second half, which we are kicking off OFMA's new community of practice led by Sadrina Brown-Jalal. This training series is focused on farmers market leadership and understanding how we and others show up in the work of organizing markets. Next slide, please. All right, a little bit about our board governance. As you know, we are a 501c3 nonprofit made up of staff members, board members, and member markets. Next slide, please. And this is our board of directors. These are who our current board of directors are. You'll learn more about them in just a minute. I do want to point out Lee there in the hat with the snowy background. He is not able to be here today, but he is our board treasurer and collaborates with Ari Rossner, who is our accountant and a former board member. We want to say a thank you to our board members who are rolling off and leaving. We got Rachel Ward, Alice Morrison, and Anna Curtin. Thank you to all of you for your dedication to OFMA. I know you love, value, and enthusiastically support farmers and markets. Thank you for your focus on gathering the people, for helping bring in new board members, and tapping your community to support our work. We are incredibly grateful for your contributions and wish you all the best on this next part of your journey. Let's give them a cheers real quick. Thank you so much. All right, next slide, please. Okay, we got our strategic plan here. So we're going to be doing a highlight of our strategic plan, which we did create back in 2024. We have a few board members here who are going to introduce themselves and one of the mission goals, which are also highlighted here on the slide. So I'll pass it over to Michelle to get us started.
Hi, everybody. Can you all hear me? Great. My name is Michelle Townsend, and I use she, her pronouns. I am the current chair of the DEI and policy committees, and I live in Southern Oregon. Outside of OFMA, I'm a board member for the Cave Junction Farmers Market, and also I'm a part of the Road Valley Food Systems Network, which is a large network of folks in Southern Oregon who work together to build up our regional food chain. And I really believe in zero equity I believe in food equity and zero food waste. Currently, our market is working with other nonprofits in our area on a project to buy leftover produce at markets and distribute it to people who have limited access to fresh food. So that goes along with the zero waste we're trying to create. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the DEI committee. Since its induction in 2019, the DEI committee has been at the forefront of the intricate web that weaves together this organization. It has crafted the DEI statement for the organization. It's supported workshops for annual meetings and ongoing education. It's provided the framework for a whole series of DEI trainings that hopefully you guys got to be part of. Going forward, one of its goals is to support OFMA's strategic plan, which you will hear lots more about today. We're always seeking new members and fresh perspectives, so please consider joining the DEI committee. And with that, I would really like to talk to you about the strategic plan. My part for right now is mission goal number 1. And I'd like to say the strategic plan is something that the board has been working on collectively for a couple years now, led by Alice Morrison, who helped put it together, who just turned off. Thank you so much, Alice. The first mission goal is farmers markets in Oregon have the training and support to succeed. So this goal is intended to help the wealth of education programming and institutional knowledge housed within OFMA's membership and industry approaches to all sides of managing markets. Through community feedback and regular inquiries from government, nonprofit, and business sector entities, we know that OFMA serves as a hub for this knowledge. But the real experts are those who are directly involved with operating markets, and by connecting people to the right resources and uplifting community voices as authorities in their expertise. OFMA will help market staff and volunteers reach their goals and solve their problems. So our first strategy is to facilitate peer-to-peer learning for market managers. We will implement peer-to-peer space for DEIJ advancement among market managers. Second strategy is to provide access to diverse and relevant subject matter experts for farmer market managers. That means that we'll give resources and trainings to multiple modes to accommodate various language and learning style needs. Also, strategy 3, OFMA outreach helps a larger share of market managers access OFMA resources. Our annual OFMA census reflects that more managers are using OFMA resources year over year during the strategic plan period. We really went over all the census information that you guys gave us. I know it's a lot of questions, but I can't tell you enough how invaluable that information is to the board. Strategy number 4, OFMA will support the creation of new markets that are reflective of their communities. Through that, OFMA will develop a DEIJ-focused evaluation resource and support for new markets during their launch. The work that we do here at OFMA is so very important to me, and if you guys have any questions regarding our DEI work, or you want to be more involved, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll put my information in the chat. And for now, I'd like to pass the conversation to Darcy, who will talk to us about mission goal number 2.
Thanks, Michelle. I'm Darcy Spar, she, her pronouns. I'm vice president of the board and also chair of the fundraising committee. And I have been a faithful customer at the Tigard Farmers Market since I moved to Tigard in 1998. And I think I counted, and since 1998, we've had 5 locations. And if you haven't been to our newest location in Universal Plaza, it is the best location. I love it. So please join us there when we open in May. When I'm not shopping at the Tigard Farmers Market, I work at Oregon Food Bank, and that's where I was first introduced to OFMA. Back in the day when OFMA was a 501c6 organization, Oregon Food Bank served as the fiscal sponsor, and now, of course, we're a 501c3. At Oregon Food Bank, I'm part of the community philanthropy or the fundraising department, and I spend a lot of my time working on providing technical assistance and training to our network of food distribution partners and on coordinated collaborative fundraising with our partners. And so at OFMA, I put that fundraising experience and skills to use by leading the fundraising committee. This committee works on fundraising, as you might imagine, as well as marketing and community awareness and outreach for OFMA. So that looks like corporate sponsorships, grants, media relations, communications with donors and potential donors, and my favorite, Farmers Market Week. That's pretty much the only time of the year that I use my Facebook and Instagram accounts and post. And I really love the opportunity to highlight my favorite markets and my favorite vendors. So given my fundraising focus, you won't be surprised that the strategic plan goal that most resonates with me is the supporting the financial stability of markets. And I especially like the training and the idea sharing that OFMA facilitates around fundraising. I like the Fundraising for Farmers Market series of webinars, and I'm really looking forward to the next one on May 20th, which is Keeping Community at the Heart of Fundraising. And Pamela Oakes is going to talk about infusing equity and centering community in fundraising, which is a lot of what we try to do at Oregon Food Bank. So I'm really excited to bring that into my OFMA work. And now I think Alexis is up.
Thanks, Darcy. Hi, everybody. My name is Alexis. I use she, her pronouns. I'm excited to be here as a new board member with OFMA. I started about a year ago last March. I live in Eugene. I'm the market director for the Lane County Farmers Market. The market operates in downtown Eugene. My passion for food systems is rooted in mutual aid efforts, connecting with your local community, addressing food insecurity, reducing food waste, and kind of redistributing that food to increase access to fresh local produce. I believe that farmers markets are not just a place to shop. I believe they're essential community hubs or community spaces that strengthen local food networks and help build more resilient, connected communities. At OFMA, I'm involved with the hiring committee and the National Farmers Market Week committee. And I love getting creative with fun events that celebrate markets and the people who make them thrive, and an excuse to talk about markets 24/7 for a whole week straight. One of the strategic goals that resonates with me the most, and the one that I'm going to touch on today, is mission goal number 3, amplifying community awareness of Oregon's farmers markets. Farmers markets are for everybody, and a big part of the work that we do with OFMA and the work that I do outside of OFMA is making sure that people hear about them, that people see themselves as market shoppers, and feel a true sense of belonging when they visit. That includes, but it's obviously not limited to, supporting markets and developing equitable and conscious outreach efforts. highlighting accessibility and food equity programs, and making sure that new and beginning farmers and businesses have the resources and opportunities they need to succeed. Because I think farmers and businesses and shoppers are all part of the work that we should be doing when we're talking about including who's part of our market. I'm very passionate about making markets more accessible, more inclusive, and vibrant. So if you are interested in talking about creative marketing strategies or creative community partnerships or just ways to expand market access, I would love to connect with you. I truly feel very lucky to work with every member of this community, and I love learning better ways that I can serve our local food system. I'll drop my email in the chat, and I really do hope to hear from you. And I'll pass it back to Michelle.
Thank you so much, Alexis. All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about the policy committee and mission goal number 4, which is to provide tools for state and local advocacy. And we'll be hearing a little bit more from Alice Morrison about the House bill and what we're doing in the Senate right now. So I'll leave that for her to talk about. Instead, I'll just let you know a little bit about the policy committee and what we do. The policy committee is how we involve our board and membership in supporting the legislature that affects the work of OFMA. And not only are we able to make impactful changes in the marketing community, but we are also your ground zero, a place for you to voice your concerns about local laws in your municipalities that affect your market. And we want to give you a voice and make sure your concerns are being heard. So raise your hand if you want to get your hands dirty. Now is the time to join our policy committee. We need you if you have a passion for this work like I do. Please send me your information. I've left my info in the chat. And so with that, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about mission goal number 4. Again, that's the OFMA provides tools for state and local advocacy. So this goal refers to the place that OFMA has assumed in the political process since the pandemic. Since that time, OFMA has been able to develop relationships with some state officials, has consistently been asked to represent the farmers market community in the political process, and has received more requests from member markets in need of support in local and regional advocacy concerns. OFMA seeks to better define our role in the policy process and provide resources for markets to effectively represent themselves. So the first strategy is the policy committee will work on a process to develop OFMA state legislative priorities. Prior to the 2025 legislative session, the policy committee will create and implement a decision-making matrix based on our DEI lens to determine policy priorities and levels of action. We also wish to standardize a reactive advocacy support for local and county regulatory changes for market functioning. And we also wish to provide proactive resources to build farmers market civic engagement. OFMA will make up position statements or one-pagers on official policy work available to members so they can engage in conversations on these topics with confidence. OFMA will also provide information on its website to educate markets about decision-making structures of city, county, and state governments. And this should include procedural overviews for land use decisions, county ordinances, state agency rulemaking, and the legislative process so market managers can better understand where to raise their voices and how to propose changes. The board knows that we can't do it all, so we've made a process in which we can decide what's the best way we can help the markets and how. So we've developed a decision-making matrix to prioritize your issues. Some local issues that affect solely your local market are best handled by the people they affect. And we want to arm you with the tools that you need to understand and lobby against these laws and city codes. Others will require the intervention of OFMA or perhaps partners like FOF. Whatever the case may be, the policy committee, guided by the light of our strategic plan, is here to help. So again, we are eagerly seeking participants in our work in policy. And thank you for listening to all of that. I'm so glad to have your attention. And now I'll pass it back to you, Rose, to talk to us all about mission goal number 5.
Thanks very much. Yeah, appreciate that. All right, we got number 5 here, which is to collect and share accurate data about markets. This goal highlights OFMA's role as the collector and distributor of the farmers market census data and feedback gathered through programs to paint an accurate picture of the impact of farmers markets on communities, including local agriculture, local economies, and community building. This data gives member markets stronger cases for support, whether this is, like Michelle was saying, with funders or local governments who can help give secure access to public assets like parks, streets, and other venues. We are still considering how to implement aspects of this goal, but we have used previous census data in really meaningful ways throughout the year, like others have mentioned. And although the census is quite complicated, and we've had some feedback about it being challenging to keep track of some of the data points we're asking for, we do think that it is really makes a huge difference when advocating for community and legislative support. Plus, markets, as Alexis mentioned too, play a key role in food systems and are going to be a vital resource during economic hardship, especially as imported foods and prices rise due to tariffs and other economic policies at a federal level. So having this information will help us be able to understand and then educate the public about what the role of markets play in supporting small farmers and businesses during these like unprecedented times. So more to come as we contemplate this topic. We would also like to invite you to join the membership committee. We meet regularly, and recently the board and staff had a retreat where we discussed the historical makeup of membership, what values drive our choices, the variation of benefits over the years, and what we hope to accomplish for you all moving forward. A major theme from those conversations has been reciprocity. We strive to provide meaningful offerings to members and know that your insight, wisdom, lived experience, community connections, advocacy, and collaboration are what allows us to promote and support your markets. So our conversations are rooted in building mutual support and reciprocity between OFMA and members. So if you're feeling called to be a part of these conversations, please reach out to me. I will drop my email in the chat as well. And I'll also let Kendra share more about the membership changes that are coming in the staff update section. Here is my email. Okay, cool. So, and also I wanted to say thank you to all our wonderful board members. Thank you for your hard work on not just this presentation, but on your sections around the strategic plan. I'm really grateful to work alongside such an amazing group of folks, and your thoughtfulness, your collaboration, your discernment skills, your time and energy are all appreciated. So let's give them a cheers real quick. Thanks, everybody. All right, let's go to next slide, please. All right, yeah, we got some updates for you here. So the ED search, the hiring committee has been working hard with Agnes Sack and her team from Nonprofit Professionals Now. We created a job description and a job announcement that we're really proud of. And it's a really robust position that has a competitive salary, a living wage. However, due to some uncertainty around funding, federal freezes, and other things, we've decided to put it on pause until we know more about the funding situation, and that will probably be in June. So once we see how the state and federal funding opportunities pan out, we'll be able to decide how to move forward on that. We also want to say thank you to Tim Wilson, who has been acting as our interim director, but is going to be transitioning to more of an interim project director. His focus has been on HR and personnel projects like updating our employee handbook and preparing the budget and setting the groundwork, the 2025 budget fiscal year, and then laying the groundwork for the 2026 fiscal year budget. He has also been supporting the board as we seek to address the core needs of membership and helping us implement some of the new systems for better workflows. We are also grateful for his advocacy in support of House Bill 2979 and collaborating with Moose, Afzal, our grants administrator, on the rolling out of the climate resilience grants. And you'll hear from Moose in just a little bit. So thank you to Tim. And the bylaw changes. So we have been collaborating and reviewing, updating our bylaws with Rational Unicorn, who you may remember from a workshop. However, because of those funding challenges, we are going to be pausing that for just a little bit until we can understand the whole situation more thoroughly, and then we'll be able to follow up with her in a couple weeks. All right, let's go on to the next slide, and I'll invite Darcy to talk about some financials.
Thanks, Rose. So hello again. If you remember from my intro earlier, when I talked about OFMA's fundraising and our strategic plan goal around financial stability, you will not be surprised that I get the privilege of sharing highlights of OFMA's finances. So the first key thing is the 2.5 million from the Oregon State Legislature. That it has had a major impact on our finances. Wow, 2.5 million to invest in farmers markets. That is amazing. Thank you all for those of you who helped make that possible and are working to make it possible to get renewed. As you might imagine, that had a major impact on our finances. Reflecting that in FY23, the organization's annual budget was 300,000. So 2.5 million added onto that. We have definitely needed to focus on our financial policies and procedures and budgeting. Prior to that, prior to the 2.5 million, a significant portion of our revenue had come from the USDA FMPP, the Farmers Market Promotion Program grant. So government funding is pretty key, has been pretty key for our organizational's financial stability. And because of that reliance, we've really thought, yeah, we probably need to work on diversifying our revenue sources. So we've made some progress over the past few years in securing more grants from private foundations. The fundraising committee has been working around sponsorship opportunities, and we've had pretty recent discussions about how membership dues fit into our revenue model, given that with the 2.5 million from the state legislature, we did not charge membership dues in the past year or so. So that revenue diversification is something the board and the fundraising committee is really going to be focusing on over the next year. Next slide, please. This slide shows our current fiscal year 2025 revenue. That's October 2024 through September 2025. And again, reflecting what Rose said, thanks very much to Tim for helping pull together all of the different revenue sources and expenses and creating a budget for the board to work with for this fiscal year. You can see by all that red there on the chart, that really illustrates how reliant OFMA is on government grants that I mentioned before. And then the other interesting thing that I will highlight on this slide is that little chunk of interest, the 33,000-ish. In my experience, in my world, government grants are often reimbursement based, but we were lucky that the 2.5 million from the state was given to OFMA all at once. And since we knew that we were going to spend it over a couple year period, we had some funds that we weren't going to need to access right away. So we put those in some CDs and earned interest, which then created that unrestricted revenue for us. And that's really been very helpful. Next slide. On to expenses for the current fiscal year. Yes, I see in the chat, amazing. That is amazing in my experience with government funding. So we're very appreciative to the state. And from this pie chart on the expenses slide, you can see that the majority, about three quarters of our funding is actually going out to farmers markets in the form of grants and other support around emergency preparedness and building drought and climate and disaster resiliency. And then that sliver that's professional services, that includes the work of Moose, who we mentioned before, is administering as a consultant the Climate Resilience Grant Program, and we'll get to hear from him a little bit later. And then also some of the work of a marketing consulting firm that has helped us with the awareness campaign that's also part of that 2.5 million climate resilience project. So that's the quick big picture overview of our finances that, as I mentioned, the board has been spending a lot of time thinking about. And we're excited to welcome some new board members to really help us with that work. And I'm going to turn it over to Michelle for more about the new board members.
Hi, thank you, Darcy, so much for simplifying our financial situation. Again, my name is Michelle Townsend, and I've been a board member for a year now. I have 5 more wonderful years to be with OFMA, so that's really exciting. Newly, we have 3 board members that you're going to hear from today. The first one is Alexis. We've already heard from you, but is there anything else that you'd like to add, Alexis?
I will just say that if you are thinking about joining OFMA board, I highly encourage you to do so. I'm new and I had been thinking about joining OFMA for a couple of years before I actually did it. And I'm very glad I did. I have learned a lot and it's really, if you work with a board as a market director, to me, it's been really insightful to be on the other side of that coin. Um, so I encourage you to do so and I hope that you vote me in. I'll pass it back to you, Michelle.
Thank you so much, Alexis. Next we got Megan Zimmer.
Hi, I'm Megan. I don't have a lot of backgrounds in working at farmers markets as some of the other board members do, but I'm very passionate about local food systems and having people that have access to freshly grown produce. I myself am currently on the SNAP program and just utilized it myself on Sunday, and it was just really awesome to be able to go into a farmer's market and not only be able to support local farmers, but have all this amazing fresh produce. And so I'm just really looking forward to being involved in this organization.
Thank you so much, Megan. Last nominee that we have today is Mallory Watson. She wasn't able to be here. She's having technical issues, or she's here, she's just having technical issues. She was born and raised in the Pacific Northwest, and she has been living in Oregon since 2008. Mallory has a Master's of Science in Nutrition and background in garden and nutrition education for kids and urban farming. She currently works as the Farmers Market Program Manager at Farmers Market Fund, supporting markets around Oregon to administer the Double Up food bucks. Over the years, these experiences have helped her to understand the importance of food access, good stewardship of the land, and of a resilient food system that supports all community members. She sees local food and farmers markets as a key piece of the puzzle in solving the inequities that we see around access to fresh food. Mallory's first experience with farmers markets was as a SNAP recipient and SNAP match participant. She's also worked as a market vendor selling produce, and she still loves to visit her neighborhood farmers market as often as possible with her small child and large dog in tow. As someone who loves and believes in the value of farmers markets, she is thrilled for the opportunity to contribute to OFMA's work. When Mallory isn't working or thinking about food, she enjoys crafting, going for walks, and veggie gardening. So, thank you, everyone. We would now like to invite you to ask any questions of our nominees, if there are any. Go ahead and come off mute. Okay, well, seeing that there is no questions of our nominees, we'd like to invite any market member to make a motion to elect each nominee either individually or as a slate. And then someone would need to second the motion. And then we will call for a full vote, but majority rules. Would anyone like to make a motion? Please use a thumbs up emoji or a physical thumbs up on your camera to indicate a yes vote.
Thank you. Looks like Rebecca Landis said move to all 3 by acclamation. Perfect. And then I got a second. Awesome. Appreciate that. So everybody go ahead and vote. So either a thumbs up or a positive in the chat or visual would be great. And we'll keep track of those. So go ahead and leave it up for a few minutes as we be able to track everybody's responses, please. Ooh, I love the magic one, Tamara. That's beautiful. Love that. Okay, thank you so much. I see a bunch of thumbs up. Is there anyone who opposes? You can, not a voting member. Thank you. Yeah, appreciate that. All right, thanks everybody. Without seeing any opposition and as many people as possible put in the chat and in their visuals, really appreciate it. Looks like everybody was voted in. Thank you and congratulations to our new board members. Really grateful for your support. Looking forward to plugging you into this work. Thank you. I'll pass it back to you, Michelle.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for voting. We know that it might seem trite to you, but being a voting member organization, we really appreciate your support being here and your support behind all of us, because without you, we wouldn't need to be here. So thank you for being here so that we can be here for you. We're always looking for new board members, but also committee members. Being on a committee is less of a time commitment, and we can plug you into the work that we are doing right away. So please, if you have any inkling that you want to be involved in OFMA, but you just don't know if you have the time, join a committee. We've got membership, we've got a fundraising committee. You heard from the policy and the DEI work that we're doing. We've got so much going on here at OFMA that we're always looking for people to plug in. So if you can just look at for more information, if you just visit the link on this slide, and we'll also put it in the chat. For now, I'd like to pass the conversation to Alice so she can inform you all about our climate resiliency grant. Take it away, Alice.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for all the great work that we've already heard about today. My name is Alice Morrison. I am the co-executive director of Friends of Family Farmers and a current policy committee member. I was on the board of OFMA for 6 years, and I really can't, just to deviate from the script a little bit, I can't say enough good things about being a member of the OFMA board. I joined when I was farming full-time and managing the Veneta Downtown Farmers Market as a second job. And this board has taught me so much and been with me for all of the transitions of my career, and really been an integral part of helping me stay connected to my community and learn so much about how to serve in different ways. And I can't recommend it enough if you would like to join. But I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about the Climate Resilience Grant Program. So this program was authorized by the state in 2023 with that infusion of cash that Darcy talked about. But that was a one-time bill that we got that funding for. So now we are looking to renew that funding. And before we turn it over to Moose, our grant administrator, to talk about the impacts of the program, I wanted to let you all know where we are in the process of going for renewal of these funds. So there is a bill in the state House of Representatives. It's House Bill 2979. You all have probably seen us putting things out via the OFMA listserv. If you're on the Friends of Family Farmer or Oregon Climate and Agriculture Network listservs, or the Oregon Community Food Systems Network listservs, you have seen calls to action about this bill. So this is our vehicle for getting this funding renewed from the state. It's a total package bill. So the OFMA Climate Resilience Grant funds, as well as some funds for the FMF growth grants and funds for farmers market promotion and SNAP technical assistance broadly, are in this bill, along with funds for the Oregon Community Food Systems Network Small Farmer Rancher Disaster Resilience Grant Program, and the Oregon Community Food Systems Network Food Hub Disaster Resilience and Infrastructure and Worker Safety Grant Program. So all of those funds are together in that bill as a local food resilience package. And we really have an opportunity here to help the state understand that an investment in the local food system is an investment in resiliency. It's an investment in food access. It's an investment in rural economic development. It is a way for our communities to support themselves and to give our everyone here, as well as small farmers and ranchers and food hubs, the ability to really rise up and meet the challenges that we are continuing to face here in this country. So HB 2979, thank you to everyone who signed on to the sign-on letter and those of you who submitted written testimony for the hearing in the House. We had a wonderful showing. Over 200 pieces of written testimony were submitted through to the legislature, and the sign-on letter at that time had more than 250 signatures. Now the sign-on letter has 280 signatures, and we are going to have to continue on the fight because we passed out of our first committee. Wonderful. We passed unanimously. No opposition was registered, which is fantastic. But it is an incredibly difficult budget landscape because of the federal cuts. The state is kind of trying to see where priorities lie and where they need to invest in into communities in different ways. So it is our job as advocates for the local food space, for people who are participating in these systems and who really want to see our communities thrive, that you do need to continue to voice that this is a valid and needed investment. If you haven't signed on to the sign-on letter, there is yes, it's in the chat right now, that you can sign on as a farmer's market. There's a way on the letter to indicate that you are a farmer's market manager, and that you can choose how you'd like to engage between now and the end of the session. So the legislative session ends June 29th is the absolute last day that it can occur constitutionally, but they're shooting to close it down on June 18th, I believe, is the target sine die. So we have until then to convince them that this is a worthy investment. So if you sign on to that sign-on letter, we will call upon you to either write a letter to your legislator, meet with your legislator in person or virtually. And if there's opportunities for public testimony and ways that we can raise our voices and do some collective action, we'll also be really moving that forward. So my organization, Friends of Family Farmers, is working in coalition with OFMA, Oregon Climate and Agriculture Network, and the Oregon Community Food Systems Network, and FMF to push this forward. And we will continue to keep you all apprised. And I will also, keep you all apprised of this campaign, among other things, on the policy committee, because I'm still a member of the policy committee. So if you are interested in being a bigger part of this work, please do join the policy committee. And with that context, I am going to hand it over to our, there are some opportunities, the Ways and Means Roadshow. So these meetings, the Ways and Means Committee is where our bill currently is. So when a bill has a price tag associated with it, it's called a fiscal impact statement, or a fiscal for short. When that bill has a price tag, after it passes out of its first policy committee where it's assigned when the bill is introduced, it goes to Ways and Means. And Ways and Means is a joint committee, so there's representatives and senators on it, and they make all of the funding decisions, and they're the ones who pass the budget reconciliation bill at the end of the session. And our next step is to talk to Ways and Means about what we want to have included in that budget. And so they have these public meetings that are listed here in the chat. You can sign up to speak. There are testimony templates available if you need them. But to talk about the impact of these projects, how vital they are. And if you live in one of these communities or near one of these communities where there is going to be a Ways and Means Roadshow hearing and you are able to attend, we would highly encourage it. I will say that these meetings are the selection, you have to sign up beforehand, and the selection of people to speak is randomized based on topic. So if you go to one of these meetings and you don't get called on to speak, do not take it personally. It is a very popular venue, and people from all over the system will be there. So people will be talking about healthcare, people will be talking about education, people will be talking about housing, and we'll be talking about community food systems. So these are a wonderful way to show up. ORCAN is also organizing some funds if people need travel funds to help them get there. Let me know and I can put you in touch. I'll put my contact info in the chat. But then also do sign onto the sign-on letter, and we will be doing budget advocacy after the roadshow as well, in terms of like connecting with individual lawmakers. So if you can't make it to any of these Ways and Means roadshows, that's okay. We can still find a way for you to plug in. All right. So with that, I will actually hand it over to our grant administrator, Moose. Moose has been operating the OFMA Climate Resilience Grant Program and has been doing a wonderful job getting these state funds out into the community and really showing up for all of the people who've been asking to be able to do these projects for many years. So he's going to go over where we are with the grant program, the impact that it's had so far, and how we how these funds are being implemented. So next slide, and I'll hand it over to Moose.
Thank you, Alice. Good morning, everyone. My name is Moose, he, him, his pronouns. I was brought on last year as a contractor to help administer these funds for the climate resilient grants. A little bit of background and data before I go directly into the slides. Farmers markets are vital to communities because they provide a space for communities to access local and fresh food and products and support our small-scale growers, producers, and vendors to earn an income. There are more than 140 farmers markets across Oregon, supporting over 5,000 small businesses and producers, and generating over $60 million in revenue. And so they are hugely, hugely important to small businesses, to local communities, to our local food systems. And at the same time, they are facing climate-related challenges that threaten their sustainability, that threaten folks' income, and threaten our landscape in general. And so the climate resilient grants aim to strengthen markets by providing the funding, knowledge, and tools necessary to navigate and mitigate challenges arising from climate-related disruptions in three ways mainly: stabilizing market operations, building capacity for market growth, and then supporting vendor education and support. Next slide. So we opened up the grants, our first cycle of grants last year in 2024 in the spring. We also recruited a committee of 6 committee members from across Oregon, which included market staff, vendors, and producers. OFMA was administering this process and making sure that we get these funds out to the community. We did not make the final decision on who should actually be funded for these grants. We wanted it to be a really community-centered approach through a democratic participatory grant-making process. And so committee members were actually brought in. They were volunteers. They were not paid OFMA staff to actually help us inform the decision-making so that we can make better decisions about which markets to fund through these grants. The committee read, evaluated, and scored each application via an equity-centered rubric. Each section was weighted at different percentages. They then got together for over 7 hours of discussion to actually talk about each application, the strengths, what could be changed, what specifically was a climate-related challenge that was being addressed versus a general operations thing. Those are the kind of discussions that they were having. And then through those discussions made a selection of awards. A little bit of information, we received 63 market applications last year. A total of $1.9 million in requested funds, which is very huge, and it was almost 3 times the amount that we had to give away in the first cycle of grants. 1.9 million is actually closer to the full state grant, which included a lot of different things. And so that it just showed us the huge need that there is out there for these grants and these funds. Of that 1.9 million, 120,000 were asks for direct vendor support by covering vendor fees on days of either climate-related challenges due to heat, rain, wind, snow, so that vendors could either not attend the market and not have to pay fees or fine, or they could attend the market, but they were experiencing a loss in sales, and so they didn't have to pay vendor fees out of pocket. And so we felt like that was a really important piece of this project, is supporting farmers markets and passing on those savings to our vendors as well. Next slide. So we were actually able to award 47 of those 63 markets. We provided $740,000 in grant funds last year, and we got really close to funding the total $120,000 of vendor fees. We covered $101,000 for vendor fees through that $740,000. There's a complete list of the 47 markets that were funded on the website. I think it's going to be shared. It was shared here in the chat, and probably you all have seen it in the newsletter or social media. Next slide. And now we're in the process of launching the 2025 grant cycle. A couple changes. We're going to have tiered grant amounts this year, so you'll be able to select a tier depending on what the need for your market is. It will be open again to all markets that have less than 80 vendors and were not funded in the 2024 grant cycle. And so if you applied and did not receive funding, or if you didn't apply at all, you should definitely be applying because markets that were funded previously won't be funded in this first round of funding. And applications will be opening in April, so coming up really soon. Please make sure that if you're not receiving OFMA newsletters, that you're signed up for the newsletter, you're following the website, you're following the social media, because they'll be announced on these platforms. The applications will be open for 5 to 6 weeks and will be closing in May of 2025. And again, there's going to be more information coming on that to make sure that you're following our communication channels. And for markets that were awarded funding in 2024, we will have, in the next couple of months, we'll have an exciting update for you all for continued funding as well. Thank you. Next slide. And passing it back to, I think this is Rose.
To me, I think, Moose.
Wow.
Good to see you. So I'm excited. I love hearing about all of the work that this state funds have made possible, and appreciating all the work that goes into such a thoughtful and strategic grant making process. So thank you. Now I want to turn the mic over to OFMA's programs manager, Amanda, to talk more about other things that OFMA has been doing.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Let's see, next, yes, there we go. So yeah, I wanted to talk about what OFMA has been doing with some of that grant funding that we've had for the past few years. So since 2022, much of OFMA's programming is funded by two sources, the USDA Farmers Market Promotion Program and the Ford Family Foundation, which was actually a match to the FMPP grant, and we accomplished several things during this time. The first was being able to provide opportunities for training and networking that could be accessed by markets year-round and statewide. If you were around before 2022 with us, you'd know that OFMA's trainings tended to happen they were just once a year. They were only in person at this one event that a lot of markets couldn't travel to. So yeah, in that time, we've had 96 events with 2,400 registrations, 1,600 people have attended live, plus numerous more views of all of these trainings in our YouTube recordings library. We also increased the number and types of templates and examples in our online resources, including a job description library, vendor licensing info, and toolkits that show how to be an anti-racist market. One highlight of some of the events that we have done that I just wanted to call out was that in the last year, we did these market innovation showcases that were based on the work that 9 markets in Oregon did when, due to that FMPP funding, OFMA was able to pair them with consultants who helped them address a problem. The markets then presented what they learned and shared the resources that they created in that work, including things like communications plans, staff transition planning, organization dashboards for recruiting more board members, and training videos for markets to use with their vendors. The other accomplishment during this time was gaining a better understanding of Oregon markets and vendors and their recovery after the 2020 pandemic and wildfires. We did this in a couple of ways. One was gathering market metrics off OFMA's annual survey to count the number of markets in Oregon and collect other information that helps us understand markets' challenges and successes, that helps you understand what other markets are doing. You guys often ask me, what does everyone else do? Is a big question that I get from you. And it helps OFMA advocate for you with agencies and stakeholders. And we also organized a research cohort with 9 farmers markets from around the state. They collected 3 seasons of vendor sales and crowd count data with the goal to give them more information about how their market is working and to help OFMA track how markets are recovering from the pandemic and those wildfires again, and to teach us best practices for collecting data. We're partnered with EcoTrust on that. They're our research partner, and they're going to be producing a final report on the data collected by the cohort and present the findings to everyone. And they're going to give a workshop later this spring for you on what we learned about how to collect and analyze data and how you can use and report your own data as well. So next slide. Looking to the future, OFMA needs to find more funding to keep these programs going. If an RFA is announced for FMPP, we plan to keep applying for those grants. We also recently submitted an application for the Thriving Communities grant. And while I'm nervous about us being able to achieve this funding, it's also an exciting time to think about what has been working and what we want to continue and what kind of programming we'd like to change. So programs that I'm putting into these grant proposals, things that I want to continue are things like all the workshops and the peer networking, offering our resource library and the statewide data collection. But the things that I want to add are having a cohort of market staff representing each of the state's regions who would be paid to coordinate regional meetings. We heard from you at our last annual meeting that more regional connection is important to you. And that cohort would provide focus group feedback on our training opportunities and what kinds of experts and training that we bring to you. And also, how about honorariums for market staff when they present or share resources to the market community, for instance, at our peer learning circles? Next slide. Okay, so that was the past and a little bit of a peek at the future. And how about right now? Here's what's coming up. We always have our peer learning circles. These are monthly on the first Tuesdays. These are basically an open house for market managers, staff, and leadership to connect with each other, share notes, get support for dealing with all the ways that your jobs are weird. The format is flexible and casual. I either set a topic based on requests I get from you, or I open it up with no set agenda. So feel free to pop in throughout those hours and to ask questions. And then we have 2 workshops coming up. One is about navigating Oregon's cottage food licensing exemption. That was a request from all of you that you wanted more help with that. And also a training that I just mentioned a minute ago about how to use market level data that's based on that cohort and what they learned. And then finally, we have the Truly Right Now, which is the leadership community of practice with Sadrina Brown-Jalal that will be kicking off here today in about a half hour. Today's session is just the start. She will be with us for 5 more sessions, actually, every other Monday starting April 7th. And I can't wait to introduce you to her. And I hope you'll all sign up for this community of practice. So thanks very much. And I'm turning things over to Kendra now.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kendra. I'm OFMA's Communications and Membership Manager. And you might recall earlier in our presentation that Rose had mentioned when the board discussed OFMA's mission goals that our new strategic plan highlighted the need to revisit our membership model. And so we're bringing back paid membership as part of our effort to ensure that OFMA remains financially sustainable. That was something that Darcy alluded to as well when we looked at our revenue. And as a way to continue to serve you all market operators more effectively. And so when we launched the Climate Resilient Farmers Market Grant in 2024, we switched to a free membership model to make sure that as many markets as possible could participate in our programming. And so now, with the ongoing financial challenges in the food system and on a federal level, it feels like a paid membership is the best way to start to bring some new revenue into OFMA to keep our work possible. And we did a lot of research. Rose had mentioned that we went into a retreat space and really thought through and did some research on how to consider evolving our membership model. And so we looked at how other farmers market associations operate, and most of them rely on paid membership models. And so over the next few months, our board and staff will continue to be in conversation about figuring out what the dues will be, making sure that dues are equitable for our markets, and making decisions about the pricing that will hopefully help to solidify our financial outlook. And so a part of moving to the paid membership model is rolling out a new membership database to make it hopefully easier to enroll and to renew and to access your benefits. And so over the last couple of years, many of you will probably know that we've tried a couple different online systems for membership, and neither of them worked the way that we wanted them to. And so since we're committed to collecting data and making sure that data is accurate, it feels really important that we are bringing online a new database that will actually support the work of our data collection and contacting our members. And so we're really excited to continue to work with Tim to make it possible to bring a new database online, hopefully in the beginning of 2026. So please subscribe if you haven't already to our e-news. Please keep an eye out on our social media. Feel free to browse around our website. We will definitely keep you updated and help you through this process of bringing yourself into our new database. And we'll also offer some talking points for you all to explain the value of OFMA's membership to your colleagues and board members. We understand that free membership is ideal, and that the same way that OFMA is experiencing some financial uncertainties, markets are certainly experiencing that too. And so you might need to make the case for OFMA membership with your colleagues or your board members, and we'll certainly offer some insights from our perspective on what makes OFMA valuable. And I just want to thank everyone and express some gratitude to longtime members and new members that have joined more recently for just sticking with us through this process and the shifts in our membership model, because we know it hasn't been easy. It hasn't been seamless. There's been a lot of challenge for us in trying to navigate the changes with our model and with our databases. And we just really appreciate your patience and your understanding while we're adjusting our systems and our processes to meet the needs of our organization in a time of deep change. And we're so grateful that you continue to choose to be a member of OFMA, and appreciate your commitment to this community. It's what makes the work possible, and we're just really excited to keep growing and learning together. And so being a part of OFMA means being a part of this market community and a community of people who are sharing ideas and resources and support for each other. And we have a few ways that we do that. We host monthly peer learning circles, like Amanda mentioned, and these are spaces where market organizers can come together, again, share ideas, tackle challenges, learn from each other, network, problem solve, vent. This is your space to be with the weirdness of your work and be affirmed in the power of your leadership. We also are participating in a few listservs. We don't manage those listservs, but we try to be good stewards of that space by keeping conversation going on these listservs. And the listservs are places where you can ask questions, share announcements, connect with other market organizers, and just kind of get a feel for what's happening in our industry. And if you ever need help with starting or running your market, we also offer technical assistance. And whether it's vendor policies, SNAP, getting SNAP programming set up, wondering about how to form a job description, Amanda and I are here to field your questions, and you all have been really great about reaching out via our website and other means to inquire about how to make this work happen. So please continue to ask of us what you need. And if we don't have the answers, we'll find them. And if you want regular updates on what we're doing, please, again, make sure you're signed up for our bi-weekly email newsletter. This newsletter is specifically tailored to market leaders. And I try to pack it with as much information about OFMA's work, highlights from our resource library. There are always event reminders. Often there are job postings, and certainly always beautiful images of the work that you're doing at your markets. So if you're not already on the list, please subscribe. It's the best way to stay connected about our work. And now we know social media isn't always the friendliest space. It can be overwhelming, full of misinformation, and maybe just a lot to keep up with. But I find that it's also a really powerful tool for sharing stories, building connections, um, uplifting the work of markets and other organizations and individuals in the food system. So we're really excited to start to use our online presence to build into our statewide awareness campaign, which is a part of the Climate Resilient Farmers Market Grant. And so that will include visiting markets, gathering content like images and video, doing interviews with you all and shoppers and vendors, and then again, sharing those stories and highlighting the impact of farmers markets on the Oregon economy, on local communities. And thank you to everyone that shares content with us on social media. We do our best to share that content out to our followers. And we want to know where you're at on social media. So now's a good time for you to drop the handles for your farmers market in the chat, because we would love to follow you. Other markets will probably love to follow your market. Feel free to share posts about what your market is doing, your successes, maybe even your challenges. And if you haven't already, please follow OFMA. All of our social media handles are here. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, and we're really excited to see more of the accomplishments and celebrations and joy that your market space cultivates. And so now I'll pass it back to Darcy.
Yeah.
Help us start to bring this portion of the annual meeting to a close.
Thank you, Kendra. Before we move into the Q&A section, just a few additional appreciations I wanted to extend To our partners, Farmers Market Fund, Friends of Family Farmers, Oregon Climate and Agriculture Network, and the Oregon Community Food Systems Network, thank you for working with OFMA so closely. To Moose for all the work on the climate resilience grants. We're really incredibly grateful for your adaptability and the intentionality that you put into making the grants process accessible and equitable. Amanda, thank you. That was great information, and we really appreciate your thoughtful nature and for creating so many spaces for us all, our members, together to learn and share wisdom. Kendra, thank you for creating such beautiful communications that are also insightful, thorough, and inspirational. And of course, to all of you, our members, for all you do for farmers, vendors, the community, local economies, and our food systems. Okay, we've talked a lot. We have about 10 minutes or so for questions from all of you. And that's also 10 minutes before our leadership training starts. So if you need to take a bio break, grab some water or snack so you're ready to help us kick off the leadership community of practice, please do that now. You can put your questions in the chat, or there's a raise hand under the React button. There's also a raise hand feature. And I saw a few questions that I will start off with in the chat. I'm scrolling up because I love all of these social media handles. Here's maybe an easy question before we get to more talking about membership dues. Melissa asks, is it too much to tag OFMA in all of our social posts? Kendra, do you have any insight on that?
No, it's not too much. Please do. I see that some people will send a direct message with their posts to us. That's a great way to let us know what you want us to share. We try to do our best to share about when your market is open, share about sponsors or calls for sponsorship. When market days change, like if there's inclement weather, we try to share that. So please tag us. You're welcome to also use the hashtag Oregon Farmers Markets, and we will do our best to keep up with you.
Thanks, Kendra.
Darcy, there was
and also
one question before that I want to make sure doesn't get skipped. Jennifer Ledbetter had asked, how many members do we have now? Do we have a good answer to that question?
There's like 130 farmers market organizations in Oregon running about 150 locations. And we want all of you to be members is my best answer, I think, right now. This past year where we haven't had membership dues, it's been a little hard to count like who exactly is a member at the moment, but we consider everyone members, and that's what we're going for next year, is having everybody being part of the group.
Thank you, Amanda, and thank you, Rachel, and wanted to also extend appreciations to Rachel for joining us and hopefully helping us to answer all of your great questions, even though we don't get to count her as a board member anymore, but she's still part of the OFMA family. Just
hanging on through the last bits of the annual meeting. Yes.
Okay, we can still consider until maybe the end of today.
Yes. You have X number of hours. Yeah.
I just wanted to note that we saw the conversation in the chat about the link that didn't work. There is hopefully a new link that you can use. And then I wanted to make sure that we talked a little bit about the membership dues. I will start and just preface it by saying we are in the midst of discussions about it. So if other folks want to chime in because they know more or differently than me, but what I would just share is we don't know yet. And we think that we're going to spend a few months now, the next few months, trying to figure that out. What we've talked about is that generally our membership drive happens in the first part of the year, so January, February-ish, and that seems a good time that might be likely for us to launch this new membership system. And we would like to make sure that folks have plenty of runway to be able to talk about it, to give us feedback. That's the best I have. And I would welcome any of my board members or staff members to add on or correct me.
I think folks were asking a lot about the timeline, and I know there were some dates in that slide that you shared, Kendra. Maybe we could go back to that and just kind of talk through what that rough timeline looks like. That would be helpful for folks.
I'm sorry, Rachel, were you wanting me to share about the timeline?
Yeah, sorry, I should have asked that more directly. Yes, if you want to share or if there are other board members that want to chime in and talk about it. I think there were some folks on phones who couldn't necessarily see the slides, so just talking through those dates more specifically
Yes.
would be helpful.
Yes. So returning the paid membership in January of 2026, and then working kind of backwards from there. In fall of 2025, we anticipate being able to share more about what the pricing will be, any changes to benefits, and then how enrollment will happen using our new database. And so I'm anticipating that we'll use the summertime and this earlier portion of the spring to get our database online. We're working with Neon, if anyone's familiar with that, as a customer relationship management system. We're working with Neon, and so we need to develop a process internally for using Neon, and then migrate the data that we do have about members into Neon before we introduce enrollment and renewal to members. So spring and summer of this year, OFMA's board and staff will use as much time as we need to get familiar with this database and prepare instructions for how you all can enroll. And we're hoping that by fall, we'll be ready to share our new pricing and the enrollment process with you all.
Thank you. I think that was really helpful to answer those questions. But folks can chime in if you still have lingering questions. I know people are probably going to be trying to budget for the next year, and that's a big unknown that folks want to save some space in their budget for OFMA membership. There was also a question from Bill about if there are any plans for a live OFMA meeting. Will Small Farms Conference ever return to the farmers market agenda?
Maybe I can talk about that one. So any plans for any in-person get-together does depend on the kind of funding that we get in the next couple of years. But we have heard from a lot of you that you'd really like some focus on regionality and making it easier to meet with the markets that are near you. So we are looking at how to do regional gatherings and how to work with you as market managers and having some paid work for that, of helping to organize, being able to just have some informal get-togethers with people in your region who also run farmers markets.
Totally. Yeah. Thanks, Amanda. Another question here is any pressure to change DEI principles from by the federal bodies? There isn't explicitly like you must change this or you don't get this, but it is understood. There's a lot of a list of words, a list of triggers that applications are being scrutinized against, and we have had some funding freezes. So in that way, there is pressure. But as you've seen and displayed here today, we are committed to this work, and we will be diversifying our funding to make sure that we can continue that important work without being forced into compliance of things that don't align with our values. So we got time for one more question. Anybody else? Any in the chat that we missed, or would anybody like to raise their hand and ask a verbal question? Okay, I don't see another one in there. Appreciations to everybody. I'll turn it over to Amanda and Darcy, the last little bit.
Go for it, Amanda. I'm ready for the drawing.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so we have this drawing prize. As an incentive to markets to join us live today, we're doing a drawing for a $500 gift card as a thank you. We know it took your time and effort to be here today, and we intend for this to recognize the behind the scenes work and time it takes to run a farmer's market. And we'd love to see your market celebrate itself with something fun or for its health and wellness. For instance, maybe renting a nice space and catering your next market staff or board meeting, or being able to arrange a volunteer appreciation for everyone who contributes to making your market go. But it is up to you. It's up to your market. You could use it for supplies like a new tent or whatever you might need this season. So let me get that going. We have a little thing here to draw a name. Let me share my screen. I think, Kendra, you might have to stop sharing first, and then I'll pull up my thing. Okay. Second here, portion of screen. Okay. Here we go. Spin the wheel. Sully Farmers Market. Yay. I will be in touch with you afterwards, and we'll make sure you get your card. Thank you so much for being here, everyone.